بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم. اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين. أما بعد. This is our third class and Kitab al-Siyam from Imam Musa Imam al-Hajjawi rahimahullah ta'ala in his book Zad al-Mustaqni'. We started Kitab al-Siyam, a book of fasting. This is our third class inshallah ta'ala. Last week, or the last dars, we spoke about everyone fasting with the international sighting versus the local moon sighting. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to continue to speak briefly about a person identifying the crescent moon or the hilal moon. So the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he starts off by saying, وَيُصَامُ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدَلٍ وَلَوْ أُنْثَى وَيُصَامُ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدَلٍ وَلَوْ أُنْثَى. طيب. The Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he starts off by saying that a person fasts بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدَلٍ. If a person is just, then in this case, in mukallaf. Is anyone familiar with the term mukallaf? If we say that someone is mukallaf, what does that mean? Huh? Okay. What?
Requested to do so.
Mukallaf?
Mukallaf?
No.
Means it's on his duty, like one of his duties.
A duty, okay. I'm sorry? Reliable. Not reliable here. So mukallaf is a person that Islamic legislation is obligated upon him or her to perform. A person is mukallaf. So in this case, when they say that yusamu bi ru'yati adalin, yani a person that is adal here is a person that is mukallaf. That's one aspect. Likewise, they are just, honest, upright to the end of it. And they are informing the Muslims that they saw the crescent moon or the hilal. طيب. وَلَوْ أُنْثَى. Even if it is a woman, هذا يشير إلى خلاف. This walau means even if. It means that there is some difference of opinion among some of the earlier contemporaries or the earlier scholars in Al-Islam with regards to that issue. طيب. Then it says, وَإِنْ صَامُوا بِشَهَادَةِ وَاحِدًا ثَلَاثِينَ يَوْمًا. Now this issue here, يحتاج تحريك الذهن شوية. Exercise, mental exercise here. It says, وَإِنْ صَامُوا بِشَهَادَةِ وَاحِدًا ثَلَاثِينَ يَوْمًا. It says that, say for example, if a person fasts the month of Ramadan with one person witnessing or one person spotting the moon. Let's say, for example, a sheikh here, he tells the whole city he saw the moon for Ramadan. No one else saw it but him. So everyone believed him. They took his narration that he saw the moon. So we find that the Muslims now, they fasted for 30 days. And then that night of the 30th day would be what? Obviously, it would be the 31st night if it was more than 30 days in a month. But that night would represent the first of the following month, correct? It says they fasted 30 days. بِشَهَادَةٍ وَاحِدًا, with one person. لَكِنْ فَلَمْ يُرَى الْهِلَالِ, they did not see the hilal. So imagine, remember initially, we said that a month in Islam can either be 29 or 30 days. Not more and not less. Either 29 or 30 days. How do we identify the beginning of a new month? The crescent moon. When do we start looking for that crescent moon? Huh?
30th day.
La.
29.
Around Maghrib.
When do we start Maghrib? What day?
29.
29.
La.
Out of 30th.
Laylatul Thalathin, the night of the 30th. That night of the 30th can either be the first of the next month or the night of the 30th, which would mean that the next day after that would be the day of the 30th. Remember, this is very important. The night precedes the day. The night precedes the day. Is that clear? Huh? Yes. So then, we fasted 30 days already, and now we're going into the night. So we are assuming that once that night comes in, this is the beginning of Shawwal. Shawwal is the month after Ramadan. Shawwal is the month after Ramadan. So then, in the evening of the 30th, when Maghrib comes in, we're assuming that this is the Eid, yani the first of Shawwal. However, when we look outside, we do not see the hilal. We do not see the hilal. This is the first issue. Is that clear? Right, what do we do? It says, فَلَمْ يُرَى الْهِلَالِ. Oh, or the next issue, صَامُوا لِأَجْلِ غَيْمٍ, or we fasted earlier because it was cloudy outside in the beginning. If you remember, when the first class, we spoke about Ibn Umar. And Ibn Umar, he will go out on the 30th night looking for the hilal. He said that if they did not see the hilal based on it being cloudy or something in the sky, then they would fast anyway. Right or wrong?
Right.
You guys remember that? Type. So in this case, and this is one of the positions of the school of Imam Ahmed, in both of these scenarios, lam yuftiru, yani, they will not break their fast. In other words, if they fasted 30 days, and then that night they do not see, which will be the first of the Eid, if they do not see the hilal, then they will fast an additional day. They will fast an additional day. Likewise, if it was cloudy, they will fast an additional day. Lam yuftiru. And this is obviously, there's some difference of opinion. And they will say they will fast this extra day. Ihtiyatan. Ihtiyatan. This means that out of caution, if you will. Caution and safety, just to ensure that they didn't start Ramadan earlier into the end of it. Is that part clear? Wadi Shaykh? Right. So then he mentions, وَمَنْ رَأَى وَحْدَهُ هِلَالَ رَمَضَانَ وَرُدَّ قَوْلُهُ. Right. So then initially we said that in order for a person to accept that person's statement about seeing the moon, they would have had to have been considered adil, just in their speech and in their action. So in this next scenario, it says, وَمَنْ رَأَى وَحْدَهُ هِلَالَ رَمَضَانَ. If it's one person again who sees the hilal or the crescent moon of Ramadan. However, there's a new caveat. And this one is, وَرُدَّ قَوْلُهُ. وَرُدَّ قَوْلُهُ. Yani, no one accepts his statement. Okay? No one accepts his statement. Why would they not accept his statement? لِأَنَّهُ فَاسِقٌ. Because this person is an open sinner. He's an open sinner. Yani, he has no shyness about the sins that he or she commits. And therefore, رُدَّ قَوْلُهُ. No one wants to accept his or her narration about seeing the crescent moon of Ramadan. What is upon that person? For that person, يَجِبُ لَهُ الصَّوْمُ or يَجِبُ لَهُ الصِّيَامُ. If that person sees the crescent moon, then it is obligatory for that person to fast. Whereas everyone else will not accept that person's statement. Is that clear? Right. أو رأى هلال الشوال صام. The next issue, what if that same sinful person, remember we said initially that if they themselves see the crescent moon to begin Ramadan, then they have to fast, whereas other people may not accept their narration. What about now if that same person sees the crescent moon for Shawwal, yani for the Eid? What do? Do they break their fast while everyone else is still fasting? Huh? Any opinions? Okay. They keep their fast. You say they should break their fast? Tayyib. The sheikh in the back is correct. He said that they should keep fasting. Why is that? لأن يفطرون مع الناس. This is due to the statement of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. الفطر يوم يفطر الناس. الفطر يوم يفطر الناس. We break our fast when all of the people break their fast. We break our fast when all of the people break their fast. And due to this here indicates that even if this person does see the crescent moon or the hilal for the month of Shawwal, in this case, this person should still remain fasting as long as the people are still fasting. The next issue. وَيَلْزَمُ الصَّوْمُ لِكُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ مُكَلَّفٍ قَادِرٍ. Then the fasting is obligatory upon every Muslim. What is excluded from this is every non-Muslim. وَلَوْ أَسْلَمَ فِي أَثْنَائِهِ. Even if a person accepts Islam during the daytime of Ramadan. Let's say, for example, fasting is obligatory upon every Muslim. Yes or no? Every Muslim that is mukallaf. If we say that they are mukallaf, this would exclude who? This would exclude people that are not mukallaf, like children, people that have mental disabilities that will, not allow them to not allow them to comprehend the fast. People that are, to the end of it. In this case, if a person is Muslim, then they are not excluded from fasting if they are mukallaf, they have all of their faculties to the end of it, and they are qadir. Qadir means they are physically able. So then, let's say, for example, a person that is not Muslim, they accept Islam during the month of Ramadan. Let's say someone becomes Muslim at Dhuhr, during the day of Ramadan. What are they supposed to do? Do they have to fast that day? Huh? Yeah. They have to remain, they have to qada al-baqi. The fasting becomes obligatory upon them at that point. Likewise, if a person is mukallaf, now we're going to get into that now, as the next issue is وَإِذَا قَامَتْ الْبَيِّنَةُ فِي أَثْنَاءِ النَّهَارِ وَجَبَ الْإِمْسَاكُ وَالْقَضَاءُ عَلَى كُلِّ مَنْ صَارَ فِي أَثْنَائِهِ أَهْلًا لِوُجُوبِهِ. The next issue, say for example, the night is the 30th night, and we're looking for the hilal or the moon. Okay? We go out and we look for the hilal or the moon, and we don't see it. So the next day, we're in the 30th day of Sha'ban. We're not fasting. What if throughout that time it became clear to a lot of people that yes, today is the first day of Ramadan and we already started breaking our fast, or we already started eating? What is upon us at this point in time? What are we supposed to do? Okay? We have to fast the rest of the day. So that means, so you stop eating. And then what else is upon you? Ahsant. And then, in this case, if we find out that, yes, this is the month of Ramadan and we already started eating. We were eating throughout the day alayna bil imsak. We have to refrain from eating. Even though you have to make that day up again in fasting, but you must refrain from eating, then you have to make that day up again. Is that clear? Right, the next issue, وَمَنْ صَارَ فِي أَثْنَائِهِ أَهْلًا لِوُجُوبِهِ. Let's say, for example, during this particular day, and they give us some examples here. وَكَذَا حَائِدٌ وَنُفَسَاءُ طَهُرَتَا. Let's say, for example, we have a person that is on her menses. And let's say she's not able to fast during the day. And then on the middle of the day, in the month of Ramadan, her menses goes off at 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay? 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. What is upon her? Can she still eat and drink the rest of that day and then make that day up? Or how is she supposed to deal with that situation? Likewise, a woman that has postpartum bleeding. What is upon her when it comes to fasting in a situation like this? If the menses, it goes off during the day of Ramadan, can she continue to eat and just start from the next day her fasting, or what? Ahsant. She would have to stop eating and then make that day up. So a person might ask, well, if she already wasn't fasting, why does she have to refrain from eating the rest of the day, even though she has to make that day up? Is that a good question? It's a good question, right? Tayyib. So the ulama, the scholars of Islam, they say لِحُرْمَةِ الْوَقْتِ, because the time of Ramadan, out of respect for the month of Ramadan. Out of respect for the month of Ramadan. So then we mentioned, likewise, a woman that just finishes her menses, or a woman who finishes her postpartum bleeding during the month of Ramadan. Obviously, in the postpartum bleeding case, perhaps she's not breastfeeding or anything like that, and that's a whole other issue we're going to tackle in a minute. And then the next one is musafirun qad muftiran. Let's say, for example, a person is traveling. If a person is traveling, can they break their fast? Yes. If a person is traveling, they can break their fast. What if a person is traveling and they weren't fasting, and then they come back to their home of residence? Let's say, for example, you were out of town in California or whatever, wherever you were at. And then you make it back to Philadelphia. You obviously you weren't fasting that day because you were in safar, you were traveling. Once you make it back to your place of muqim, your place of residence, at that point in time, do you continue to break your fast, or do you continue to eat, or do you stop eating? You stop eating. You stop eating. Why do you stop eating? لِحُرْمَةِ الشَّهْرِ. Since this is due to the sacredness of the month of Ramadan, out of respect for the month of Ramadan. Is that clear?
I have a question.
No, tfaddal.
As regards of traveling, you said California or even overseas. Today we all know that traveling, taking an airplane and coming down, AC'd or heated up, or so it's fairly comfortable. Is it okay if you fast while you're traveling, or is it an obligation to take that permission of breaking your fast while you're traveling, even though that you know that it's not going to be like hard on you to fast whether you're traveling or not?
Right. Some of the ulama, they say that it's obligatory to take that ruqsa. Some of the ulama say it's obligatory to take that exception. However, majority of them, they hold the position that it is recommended. It is not an obligation to break your fast while you are traveling. However, in some cases, it may be sinful for the person if they do not break their fast due to mashaqqa, due to a form of hardship that a person can find while they are traveling. So then the issue of traveling is a complex one in that a person should look at their situation. It's better to take the rukhas, it's better to take these exceptions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. However, if a person feels like, traveling in this case, whether you break your fast or not, is not predicated on mushaqqa, meaning that even if it's easing your travel, you can't say, well, if it's easing my travel, then I don't have to break my fast. Rather, it's upon me to continue fasting. La. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave that for the person who is traveling, that they can break their fast. And inshallah ta'ala, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, in a little more detail, inshallah ta'ala. The next issue, وَمَنْ أَفْطَرَ لِكِبَرٍ أَوْ مَرَضٍ. So now we're going to talk about certain people that break their fasts. Certain people that break their fasts while they are fasting for whatever reason may be. So Imam al-Hajjawi rahimahullah, he says, وَمَنْ أَفْطَرَ لِكِبَرٍ أَوْ مَرَضٍ لَا يُرْجَى بُرْءُهُ أَطْعَمَ لِكُلِّ مِسْكِينٍ أو لِكُلِّ يَوْمٍ مِسْكِينٍ. I had a mud with me, but for whatever reason I forgot it this morning. But I brought it in before. But inshallah ta'ala, maybe for the next class, I'll bring it in again. It's important in this case, just so you can understand, how do you pay the kafara? If a person is sick, well, let's start off with old age. If a person has old age, وَمَنْ أَفْطَرَ لِكِبَرٍ. Let's say, for example, a brother or a sister, they're very old in age, and they are not able to fast. وَمَنْ أَفْطَرَ لِكِبَرٍ أَوْ مَرَضٍ. Or they are sick. But this type of sickness here is qualified. This type of sickness, لَا يُرْجَى بُرْءُهُ. This type of sickness is like a chronic illness. A chronic illness wherein there is no hope that this person will be cured from this particular illness. What is upon these people? Let's say for example, with regards to sickness, a person may have diabetes. A person may have a type of terminal illness. A person may have anything that is chronic and that generally or historically speaking, generally will not go away. They have to take medication until the end of it. And they cannot fast. What is upon these people? What is upon these people? So he says, وَأَطْعَمَ لِكُلِّ يَوْمٍ مِسْكِينًا. وَأَطْعَمَ لِكُلِّ يَوْمٍ مِسْكِينًا. In this case, all of these people, they must feed a poor person for every day that they are fasting. For every day that they are supposed to be fasting. What do they have to feed the people? What do they have to feed the people? For وَيُجْزِي فِي كَفَّارَةِ مُدَّ بُرٍ. A muddu burrin. A mud, ikhwan wa akhwat. If we had this with me, I have a mud, but here, a mud is generally 2 handfuls together like this. Okay? 2 handfuls together like this is generally considered to be a mud. A mud of burr is like 2 handfuls of wheat or barley. All right? This is something you can feed someone. Now, this issue of mud, this type of measurement, is not, as they mention, many of the ulama, they mention, with regards to wheat and barley only, then it is a mud, which is 2 handfuls together. Any other type of food, and they say that it is nus sa'a. So we're going to explain this. A mud is 2 hands together, and a sa'a, 2 hands together with 1 scoop. Does that make sense? You put 2 hands together and you come up with 1 scoop. This is a mud. A sa'a is 4 of these scoops. is equal to 1 sa'a. A Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam would make wudu with 1 mud. 1 mud, he will make wudu with it. طيب. A sa'a is arba'ata amdad, يعني 4 of these scoops like this. Is that clear? So the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam will make a ghusl with 1 sa'a. So half of a sa'a is 2 muds. Muddan. Is that clear? طيب. Any other food other than wheat or barley, then you have to pay it by half of a sa'a, yani 2 scoops or 2 muds. How do you weigh that? And we're going to talk about that inshallah ta'ala when we get to zakatul fitr. How that is weighed is not by weight, rather it's weighed by volume. It's weighed by volume. What does that mean? Let's say, for example, we have raisins or grapes. Let's say we have grapes. Grapes are very light. Let's say we have 1 mud of grapes, right? And then we have 1 mud of rice. Which is going to be heavier, the grapes or the rice? The rice. So then when it comes to measuring food like this, we're not looking at the weight, we're looking at the volume. How much can it fill in this particular capacity? It has nothing to do with weight. However, we do find every year for zakatul fitr, many people say if you're going to do rice, then the rice has to weigh this. This is because people weighed rice with regards to the capacity that the volume of it should equal this amount of weight for rice only, not anything else. Unless people actually took the time to measure each thing with regards to the mud and the sa'. Is that clear? Inshallah ta'ala, we'll expound upon that when we get to zakatul fitr. So then, a person, and this is due to the statement of Allah Jalla wa Ala, where he says, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 184. This verse is dealing with the one who is sick or old age and cannot fast. Then they should, what? They should pay this every day. They should pay this every day. Does that make sense? طيب. The next one. وَيُسَنُّ لِمَرِيدٍ يَضُرُّهُ الصِّيَامُ وَلِمُسَافِرٍ يَقْصُرُ. It is also sunnah for sunnatul fitr. It is sunnah for the one that is sick to break their fast if their fast is harmful to them. We have a lot of Muslims that may be sick or have conditions, and they don't want to, they feel as if they are not getting the total reward for fasting, so therefore they will put themselves in hardship, assuming that this is better for them. Whereas in this case, as many of the scholars mention, it is sunnah for these people to break their fast while knowing that the fast will harm them. While knowing that the fast will harm them. Islam does not call for a person to kill themselves. Islam is strictly opposed to a person killing themselves. وَلِمُسَافِرٍ يَقْصُرُ. And how they define one who is traveling. What is considered traveling? What is considered traveling to the extent that you can break your fast? Does anyone know?
So many different opinions.
There are many different opinions. But when they say traveling, yaqsuru, traveling in the sense that you are shortening your salah. So anywhere you travel and you are shortening your salah, in this case, it is permissible for this person to break their fast if they choose to. Is that clear? Huh?
Any given distances or any given time?
Kayf yani. What do you mean? Any?
As far as traveling, that's considered traveling where the permission is permitted to be taken, as far as qasr salat or breaking your fast. Is there a distance that is to be traveled, or a time that is to be traveled that's considered traveling? Means if I go to northeast or if I go to New York, or if I go to Boston, which one is the travel?
Right. So are you saying, say for example, if you're in South Philly and it takes you 3 hours to get to the Northeast?
For example.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. A safar is predicated on masafa. Some of the ulama of the Salaf, they hold the position that traveling is based on masafa. Masafa is the distance that is traveled, not the amount of time it takes to reach that distance. Because if it was based on time, then if we flew in an airplane, there wouldn't be any traveling because the time is very fast. So in this case, the gauge that is used to determine traveling is the distance, not the time that it takes to reach that distance or that destination. That's number one. Number two, what is that distance that needs to be traveled? We have many different positions from the earlier scholars. I think some of them say it has to be 80 kilometers to the end of it. However, what appears to be what many of the scholars that I study with, they generally use the position of al-urf, al-'ada muhakkama, al-'ada muhakkama. And this is from the legal maxims of Islam, also from the principles of qawaid fiqhiyya, in that when a person, or qawaid al-kubra, al-'ada muhakkama, yani this means that whatever the people in that particular locale consider to be traveling, then in essence that is traveling. Whatever is considered to be traveling from the people in that location. Some of the scholars, when we went over this issue, they said this seems to be more correct because it's really difficult to measure it by distance. As generally speaking, there weren't, people didn't measure the distance like that. It was basically what they considered, even though there are some reports about, I believe, 80 kilometers that was actually measured, but some of them differ with regards to that, and Allah knows best. The next issue, it says, وَإِنْ نَوَى حَاضِرٌ إِنْ نَوَى حَاضِرٌ صَوْمَ يَوْمٍ ثُمَّ سَافَرَ فِي أَثْنَائِهِ فَلَهُ الْفِطْرُ. In this case, the next one, if a person, let's say for example, we are not traveling, we're stationary in our homes, etc., and then we decide to travel later on in that day, do we have a right to break our fast? Yes or no? Yes, a person has a right to break their fast. The next issue, and this is very important, especially for those women that are pregnant and those women that are breastfeeding. This is a topic of great discussion by many of the ulama, and this is the classical position of Imam Ahmed, and perhaps it is the safest, and Allah knows best. As many of the scholars will tell us, خُرُوجُ مِنَ الْخِلَافِ أَوْلَى. Staying away from differences of opinion is better. Staying away from differences of opinion is better. So the Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, وَإِنْ أَفْطَرَتْ حَامِلٌ أَوْ مُرْضِعٌ خَوْفًا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمَا قَدَتَا فَقَدْ. This here is important, and you must pay attention to the distinction between the two. He says, it is upon وَإِنْ أَفْطَرَتْ حَامِلٌ, if a woman is pregnant and she broke her fast, أَوْ مُرْضِعٌ, or she is breastfeeding a child, خَوْفًا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمَا, خَوْفًا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمَا, if she fears for herself. In other words, the woman that is pregnant, and likewise the woman that is breastfeeding, if she is doing this and she breaks her fast, for what reason? If she breaks her fast fearing for herself only, then they say قَدَتَاهُ فَقَدْ, that she has to make those days up. That she has to make those days up. Is that clear? Is that clear? So then, if we have a sister that is either fasting or that is pregnant or is breastfeeding, pregnant or breastfeeding, and she fears for herself only. Pay attention to what I'm saying. She fears for herself. For example, if she's pregnant and she's fasting and she said, I feel really weak, I feel sick, I'm worried about my health to the end of it, she's concerned about herself. In this case, it's for her to break her fast and just make that day up. If she is breastfeeding and she says, you know what, I'm breastfeeding, she feels drained, weak, she's worried about her health, she can't move the way she would want to move. In this case, she breaks her fast because she's fearing for her own safety. Is that clear? So the only thing that is upon her is to make those days up. The next scenario, وَعَلَى وَلَدَيْهِمَا قَدَتَا وَأَطْعَمَتَا. If she also fears, this is the next case, if she also fears not only for herself, but she fears for her child, either due to pregnancy and or breastfeeding. If she fears for herself and her child, then in this case she must make the fast up and at'amata, and they must feed people on every day that they broke their fast. The question now is, who is responsible for feeding the people? If a woman is pregnant and she's fearing for her child and or she's fearing for her child, in both cases, and herself. In order to understand this, the scholars of Islam, if you remember the first part when we spoke about a person being sick of old age and to the end of it, if she fears for herself, then she would just have to make her fast up out of fear. But if she's sick, in this case, they say that she has to what? She has to make her fast up because she would be able to once she finishes breastfeeding and finishes her pregnancy. So it's not the type of sickness that is ongoing, continuous. So she has to make it up. And in addition to that, she will have to feed. This position is a position of many of the scholars of the past with regards to this. But who is the one who feeds the poor people? Who is it? Ahsant. The men are responsible, not the women. The father of the child is responsible for feeding on her behalf, not the women. Is that clear? So, in either case, if the sister is pregnant and breastfeeding, and she fears for herself, in this case, the only thing that is upon her is to make her fast up. That's one scenario. The next scenario is if she is pregnant and breastfeeding, she fears for herself and she fears for her child. Or she just fears for her child. She's about herself, she's okay, but she's only fearing for her child. In this case, she only fears for her child, not for herself. Then she must make those days up and feed. Who has to feed? The husband. The husband, as I mentioned, وَجِبَ عَلَى مَنْ يَمُونُ الْوَلَدْ أَنْ يُطْعِمَ عَنْهُمَا. It is obligatory for the one who is responsible for the child, in this case the father, to feed on her behalf or on behalf of her missing those days. It is obligatory for him to make that feeding or to make that feeding. لِكُلِّ يَوْمٍ مِسْكِينٍ. For every day a poor person. For every day a poor person. طيب. We still have time? Y'all want to continue? Shake you like you're falling asleep, man. You with us? Huh? So the next question is for you. Huh? Bismillah. وَمَنْ نَوَى الصَّوْمَ ثُمَّ. Actually, if y'all want, we can stop right there. Stop right there? Khalas. Early in the morning. Inshallah, we'll finish on Monday, inshallah. Any questions about what we just covered?
Yeah, I had one about the traveling. Still not clear as far as the distance. You said it's upon the community.
Yeah. So, what is 80 kilometers in the miles? I don't know. What is it? 60 miles or something like that?
80 kilometers?
Yeah. What is that?
80 kilometers is like 62 miles.
Like 62. All right. So, many scholars hold the position that if you're going to be traveling, then it has to be at least 62 or 60 some odd miles or 80 kilometers. Okay? That's one position. The other position is that it's whatever the people in that locale consider to be traveling. Does that make sense? That's not clear?
Yeah, that's good. I just need to know the mile, like 62 miles.
I'm sorry, I stay corrected. 49 miles.
49 miles? 49 miles. I don't know.
80 kilometers, 49 miles. But following up his question, like for example, in Philly, do we consider New York a travel?
I don't know anyone in Philly that doesn't consider New York to be traveling.
That's travel.
It's everyone.
That's travel.
49 miles, that's 1 hour.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is this. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. When we were living in Mecca, we would go to Jeddah. Jeddah is about an hour away from Mecca, so we have Mecca is in the middle, and then if you look on a map, to the right, for example, is Jeddah, and to the left is Ta'if. They're two cities in opposite directions of Mecca. If you go from Mecca to Jeddah, majority of the people of Ahlul Mecca, they do not consider Jeddah to be traveling. Majority of the people do not consider Jeddah to be traveling. However, if you go from Mecca to Ta'if, the same distance, taqriban, almost the same distance, but everyone from Mecca considers Ta'if to be traveling. Why? Allah knows best. But this is why many of the scholars will tell us that, generally speaking, it goes back to the customs of the people. What the people generally consider to be traveling, that is traveling. What the people do not consider to be traveling, may not be traveling. Naam, ya Shaykh. Tafadhal.
How we can define, that we are traveling? Say, for example, I'm going to New York, but I'm doing this for living, just for living, not for especially nothing, just,
To enjoy.
So you're going to New York for pleasure, not business or anything like that. Right? Why wouldn't it be considered traveling? No one said that traveling has to be, the only way it is considered traveling has to be for this purpose or that purpose. There's no stipulation in Islam about that. Tayyib? You can be traveling just to go drive around for for whatever. You just want to drive to New York and drive back. It's still considered traveling. Your reasoning for traveling is not questioned. Now, there is an issue that when it comes to combining the salat, breaking the fast, and so on and so forth, if a person is traveling for the purpose to commit sins, the ulama make a distinction about that. If a person is traveling for the sole purpose to commit sins, then they question, can this person shorten their salat? If this person is fasting in Ramadan, do they still get the excuse of breaking their fast? These are other issues. But we're going to assume that we're not traveling for the purpose of sinning. You're just traveling just to travel. In this case, there's no stipulation in Islam that says, if you're not going for business, then it's not traveling. If you're not going to visit Fulan, then it's not traveling. There's nothing that stipulates that. There's nothing about that in Islam. Like, now.
That new shahada, takes the shahada. You make up the days that he's missed in Ramadan or just...
Make up that day only.
That day only.
The days before that, they weren't Muslim. غير مكلف. They weren't obliged to fast because they weren't Muslim then. Now, any other questions?
What was the matter? What's the matter between Jeddah?
Huh?
106 kilometers between both of them. Between Taif and Mecca is 106, and between Jeddah and Mecca is 107. It's the same thing.
It's the same. MashaAllah. I didn't know that. But I'm telling you.
Kilometers.
I'm talking about miles.
Miles, well, so it's 80 kilometers is 49 miles, so 100 kilometers maybe what? 58, 50.
I'm telling you, I used to take the trip from Mecca to Jeddah and from Mecca to Taif.
Exactly now.
It's the same. The distance as a driver, it felt exactly the same. And I've done it on multiple occasions. And in one case, I just assumed that Ta'if wasn't traveling until one day I was coming back from Ta'if, and I happened to be calling one of the mashayikh on the phone, and we were talking about something, and I said, yeah, I'm about to, combine my salat or whatever. Oh, no. No, what did I tell him? No, I said I wasn't going to combine my salat. No, I wasn't going to combine my salat. And he asked me, well, why aren't you going to combine? I said, well, I'm coming from Ta'if. It's not traveling. So he said it wasn't traveling. I said, I thought it wasn't traveling because this is my own, I thought it wasn't traveling because going from Mecca to Jeddah is not traveling. And it's like the Saint said, no. Everyone in Mecca considers Ta'if to be traveling. No one considers it to be like his local. So likewise, a lot of this really goes back to the customs. Now,
yeah, I was just about to say, given those two positions, though, perhaps what would give rise to more clarity is what is the evidences that supports each of those?
ooh.
And that's probably where the gray areas are for.
So there's a lot. There's a lot, and in fact.
And that's what needs to be clarified.
Yeah, in fact, so with regards to the kilometers, there's a narration that the Prophet ﷺ, they traveled, and that was the distance that they went, about 80 kilometers. So many of the ulama, they use that 80 kilometers as a dhabit, as a determining factor. And then in other reports that people may have gone less than that or further than that, and it wasn't considered traveling, right? But there's actually, what we could do is, inshallah, go do some more research on it and bring all of the evidences for supporting both positions, and we could present it, inshallah ta'ala. However, this is an issue that the scholars of the past, from the earlier generation of the companions, differed on. This is not something that's just black and white. This is the correct way, and that's the not correct way, or incorrect way. And so, with regards to the issues of al-'ada, muhakkama, this has strong relevance in the religion with regards to the customs. There are many issues in Islam that support that. We mentioned this several times, different examples of it. At any event, we'll stop with that. If there are any other questions, we can deal. If not, inshallah ta'ala, we'll reconvene on Monday. And inshallah, maybe I could bring in some information, more detail about that. خلاص؟ طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Well,